to discuss the community development block grant project. So on the proposed Peeling Village Affordable Housing CDBG application, first up, the community development block grant funds are available to municipalities through the New Hampshire Community Development Finance Authority. Up to $500,000 annually is available for economic development projects, up $500,000 for housing projects, up to $500,000 for public facility projects, up to $500,000 in emergency funds, up to $25,000 per planning study grant. Up to $1 million is available for each permanent supportive housing grant project under the CDBG-CV allocation due to COVID-19. All projects must be directly benefit a majority of low and moderate income persons. This is a proposed application to the Community Development Finance Authority for up to $500,000 in CDBG housing grant funds. Of the funds, $25,000 will be retained by the town for administrative costs associated with the project. $475,000 of the funds will be subgranted to Affordable Housing Education Development Head Inc. A head will in turn loan the funds to Peeling Village at Gordon Pond Limited Partnership. The funds will be used for the construction of 29 units of primarily affordable multifamily housing at Lost River Road in Woodstock. This project confirms with Woodstock's proposed housing and community development plans goal of encourage an adequate housing stock consisting primarily of single-family homes while allowing sufficient opportunities for duplexes, multifamily units, and other forms of housing to assure that persons of all income levels and ages will be able to afford to live in town. Before I open it up for public comment, I just want to make a note that for anybody that wants to read along with us, there are copies up here on the table for you to follow along with. Yep. So at this time, we welcome Donna Lane, who will be administering the CDBG grant for, right? Well, writing.
And I apologize for being late. Sorry.
No, thank you. I understand.
And Larry.
So at this time, we will open it up for public comment. Okay. I'm not seeing any. Yes, Bill, Waterhouse. Yep.
I'm Bill Waterhouse, and I would just like to bring people up to date, those that might be on Zoom, as to how we got here this evening. On October 12th, 2018, which I believe was a Columbus Day weekend, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there was a select board meeting. 2 selectmen and Jay Palomino. He'll call the meeting to order. Joel seconded the motion. Jay explained that a head has been searching a long time for property for workforce affordable housing. They currently have a 40-day agreement on map 105 lot 20, pending the release of restrictive covenants. Jay noted that the town owns the abutting property, which was part of the original subdivision, and has the same restrictive covenants. Jay also explained that when the restrictive covenants were placed on the lots, that they have been subdivided, both parties have to agree to terminate and release the restrictive covenants. Joel motioned to sign the termination and release of restrictive covenants. Bill seconded the motion, and the vote was in the affirmative. So that was back on a Friday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon of a 3-day weekend. And as I read through these notes again this morning, it seemed that this was a presentation in the town to the town, and the town would consider it. I then double-checked Grafton County Registry of Deeds, and at that meeting, there was apparently a 4-page termination and release of restrictive covenants agreement, and that was signed and notarized at that meeting. So it sounds as if the people were coming to town asking for consideration, when in fact the consideration had been given, and as far as I could find, no opportunity for the folks to speak on it. That entire meeting took 22 minutes. Since then, in other meetings, it was mentioned that people need places for their employees to reside. I think we all agree with that. But if they are the employees, I'm curious as to why it is incumbent upon the rest of the town to build this housing to house employees. We have a housing shortage. I believe it's your responsibility. We were also told at a selectmen's meeting, I forget which select person it was, that a head would pay full taxes on these properties. After that, that was changed to, it was a pilot and payment in lieu of taxes, and it would be based on the percentage of occupancy. And as this is a development of one entity, of an entity being a head, or I don't remember the other name, Upper Grafton Housing Corporation. The infrastructure that is going to serve there, towns have the opportunities, if they have zoning, to apply impact fees. If this is one entity owning it, that entity has quite an impact on our infrastructure. But since we don't have zoning, we do not have those fees that we can charge. There are also off-site exactions, another way for somebody that's coming in and taxing our infrastructure, that they can be assessed for that. And this is different than however many units of owned housing. I don't know how it works with the hookup fees, but it looks like this is a single hookup fee since there's one owner. It's going to put a lot of demand, disproportionate demand on our water and sewage. Just offer that. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Do we have any other public comment? Yep, Ms. Calder, Sherry Calder.
I just don't understand. I understand that we need housing. I worked hard for my house, as did a lot of other people. Why are we opening this up for other people? I worked hard. These people should work hard. This is not something new that we haven't had places to live for employees. This has gone on since I was a kid. People went to college, they moved on because there's no housing, no work, nothing. So they moved on. But I stayed here and I worked darn hard for my house, as did most of you here. And I don't understand why we have to provide for these other people. This is nothing new, that there's no place for anybody to live. It's been like that for years, since I was a kid. Now all of a sudden we're opening up this place for people. Figure it out like I did.
Thank you. Mr. Wishart, Charlie Wishart.
I'll do my best.
Yep, no worries.
I heard something here about tax credits. Correct? I don't get the whole gist of it, but then I heard that, with the scope of the infrastructure or the possible housing, there's probably no way to charge impact fees because I don't think you find it anywhere in the master plan or in the rules, any rules the town has regarding impact fees. Am I wrong about that?
The town of Woodstock does not have zoning, so there are no impact fees, but there are connection fees per unit, not
No,
per,
that's sure.
per owner.
There are water and sewer impact,
Right,
water and sewer
sewer connection fees.
for each unit.
We all know that
For
well.
each unit.
So I did hear tax credits. And as a whatever, to hold up and say, come and build these things and we'll give you a tax credit for X amount of years. Is that,
That has not occurred.
it's not what you read in this, and I hear something about tax credits.
Minimum in lieu of taxes are governed by the Department of Revenue, not by municipalities.
Basically, we have to take the money. the
And there's
grant
certain
money.
criteria that qualify for tax exemptions,
The
But we
and
town's
did not
they
just,
will
associate
qualify,
the town's just a pass through.
but that's regulated by the Department of Revenue.
So when you take funds, wherever it comes from, outside of Woodstock, whether it be New Hampshire Housing or HUD or MTA, they have their own rules. That if you want the money, you have to do this and that. Correct?
Yes.
I
Yes.
don't know.
Yes.
I know it's correct, I really thank you.
I'm Donna Lane, I'm a grant writer, a CDBG consultant.
Okay, thank you. So, I just want to get a better picture of what's going on with it. Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you, Bill.
Is there any other public comments on this section? The floor's open if you'd like.
It's open right now, they're gonna close it, so if you have something to
If you have
say.
something-
I'll even close it.
Do you want to
Go
read?
ahead.
I have paper.
No, I'm good. You don't want to hear my comment.
I do.
Huh?
I'll read this.
I just, I do have a comment then, so.
You're too slow.
That's okay. No, Rex caller. Go ahead.
So, I haven't been up to speed on what's going on here, but you're getting a grant for this place, right? Are you gonna offer that to other people that want to develop?
This is a community development block grant that is, go ahead, Don.
Can I address?
Yes.
So it's a grant with the condition that they rent the majority of units to low and moderate income households, which are your workforce housing, which are your teachers and your policemen, things like that. That
What's the percentage of that?
at least 51%.
Yep.
Have to be rented to low and moderate income households. That's the condition on the grant. And so this has to happen for a period of years. That's a condition on the grant. And this is a CDBG grant. There are other funding sources as part of this, which have other conditions on it. CDBG has that affordability for 20 years. So it's a grant, but the condition is that it be affordable for at least 20 years. The other funders have actually longer time periods that it has to be affordable.
So you're telling me that the police and the fire department have to go in there? Is that what you just told me?
I'm not telling you they have to go in there, but if you couldn't find a place to rent in your town, because there's not a lot of housing in most towns in New Hampshire, if you
Perfect. So
needed
then
a
we
place to live, he could apply and live there possibly, not just for the person.
So how can it be low income housing if he's
It's not.
affordable housing? You follow what you want, follow what we want to say, but.
It's
housing
affordable
will-
workforce housing. It's for working people. Like your teachers, like your police, like your working people.
Like your McDonald's employees, like your Dunkin' Donuts employees,
Yep, working folks.
like the people that travel from Plymouth or Littleton to work, not just in this town. Are you gonna keep them so they have to stay in this town if they're in that housing? Oh, you can't do that, right?
Can't do that.
So is it
discrimination.
affordable housing or is it low income housing?
It's affordable housing. Right, that's what I call
But they have to
And then-
make a certain amount of money, right?
it. Well,
And
yeah,
then,
you have to pay rent.
right, but if those don't go, say like Mr. Millar doesn't want to live there because he
You
makes too
don't?
much money, then nobody, because they all make too much money, then do you lower that amount so that people can afford to go in there, or is it always a set amount of money?
It is
It's a set amount, it's all figured into the
So how much-
equation.
How much is coming out of the taxpayers' pocket for this bond?
The town of, from the
Right.
town of Woodstock, nothing, but it's HUD funds, so I have to tell you, I mean, HUD funds are everybody's money. But it's either going to put affordable housing in your town, or it's gonna put affordable housing in another town in New Hampshire. Those monies are going somewhere. So anyway, I just wanted to answer one more thing. You said every developer who applies for funds that is eligible competes for these funds. So it is open to any developer who meets the criteria.
But is the town gonna offer that to other developers?
Well, I think that's a case by case. I would think that they would talk to people and see if it was,
I would
In the
think
town,
they'd
yes.
consider it, you know.
Yeah,
sure.
if you had a project that fit into a community development block grant specifications and you came to the town just as they did originally and requested the town assist you in administering that grant, we would certainly consider it. We've done it in the past for other applicants.
Like, when I expanded the brewery, I got a grant through, I forget,
The community
the
development.
Community
block
Development
grant, Same
Fund.
thing.
And what the town did, you know, that was 8 years ago, the town took the money, less the administration fee. And then they gave, you know, the town's just a pass through, the town doesn't cost the town any money. But the town has to be the way
The fiscal aid.
the agent that it
receive the
goes
money.
through, correct? So,
Yes,
So I
Do you have to pay that
actually.
money back?
we don't.
We don't, the applicant does.
I had to pay all the money back, and I have. These guys have to pay all the money back.
no, this is a
Oh, that
grant.
one's separate, sorry.
It's a grant.
Grant, okay,
As long as they remain affordable for 20 years.
okay.
So you're just gonna give them that money and then they don't have to
We're
pay
not
back?
giving them the money.
We're not.
Well,
They're giving it to us. and we
These
give it to
people are
them.
giving them the
The New
money. We're
Hampshire
just holding
Community
the check. in the bank.
Development Finance Authority is giving the money.
But yes,
so it's pretty much a done deal, so no matter what any of us have to say tonight or how we feel about this, it's pretty much a done deal, is that correct?
That we're at the
this is a
stages.
public hearing.
It's a public
to-
hearing, you can continue to voice your.
Right, but it's a done deal no matter what any of us
It
say.
depends how we vote.
Don't know.
I know, we're probably not gonna do it.
Yes, Charlie Wishart.
Just a clarification, if I may. This might answer one of your questions. Now, these affordable units will be at 51% of all the units. And then the other units can collect the going
What's your
rate.
percentage?
75.
So in this case, it's gonna be 75% are affordable and 25% are gonna be market. At least 51% have to be affordable, but in this particular case, the makeup is 75% affordable, 25% market. Market, full market? Full market.
So there's no way that you can open up any of those affordable to full market.
No, there's a lock-in,
How about the inverse?
For 20 years.
not more than 20 years. How long is it? 60 for, one of their funders is 60. CDBG is 20. Obviously, the longer goes.
So if you can't build a market housing, can you use them as affordable housing units? Just the opposite of what I had.
I don't think I understand.
Cause you're a 25% market housing. If you don't build for any reason,
We don't build them? Oh,
you don't build them,
oh, we don't build them.
then can they be used for affordable housing?
Those are typically the units that rent quickest.
Yeah,
There's a 2-year waiting list on the project in Bethlehem for the market rate units.
They can't-
we don't have trouble filling any apartments.
Okay, thank you.
When you say at all.
Yeah.
In this
Folks, this
state,
is-
when we build it, they are waiting.
This is Larry Burgess from Ahead, and if anybody has any questions in that vein, I'm sure it'd be.
I have just a dozen more questions. Just, so when you say affordable housing,
What's the rent on the apartment, say in one bedroom, do you know offhand?
No.
But it's,
Close to 800.
yeah, so the rent's like $800 a month approximately.
So where do you qualify to be in this affordable housing? What range are you gonna be in? $100,000 a year,
Your income,
your income?
it's based on the house, I'm sorry if I keep speaking.
No, no,
Okay.
you
That's
guys
why-
are the experts. Yeah,
It's
we're
based
here.
on the household size, so there's a chart, and it's probably 65,000 up to like 80,000. It's based on household, and I don't have the numbers right here, but when we're talking affordable, like it's a single person making up to about 65,000, and then, you know, it goes up a little higher based on how many folks are in the house. We're not talking about somebody who's making $10,000 a year. We're talking about workforce housing, people who have a lot of jobs, you know?
So, if I may, in order to qualify, a person would have to demonstrate that they are making money
Mhm.
and also that they are not making too much money.
Yes.
For the affordable units, you can't make over, then you would go to the market. When I say market, I'm sorry, that's the going rate for the area, market rate.
They could potentially take one of those or be asked to go somewhere else. Find something outside if their income, say, doubles.
It does happen.
It does happen.
Rex and then Charlie.
So, when they get in there and they're at $60,000 a year starting, right? And then they can't afford the $60,000 a year or whatever their monthly rate's gonna be. And they can't afford the payment, who picks up the payment after that? You guys suck it up or does the town pay for it?
Or do they have to leave?
Yeah, they have to leave.
You get evicted like a normal.
Really?
Yes. The project has the cash flow for new rent.
It's not subsidized housing.
It's not section 8 or low income.
You pay your own rent.
Understood, but when you can't pay the rent, the town helps you fill your water bill, the town helps you pay your rent, the town helps you pay your electric. So there's probably 30 trailers that I can speak of right now that the town helps out. Are we gonna help them people out? Are we still calling it affordable housing or are we calling it low income housing?
If there are welfare, if there's welfare issues, then that'd be a case by case issue. Rex, I don't know.
We can't control.
We're not
someone
just all
else's
of a
family.
sudden-
How many people do we have talking welfare period? It's hardly any.
No, I think our welfare contributed $600 last year.
Yeah, we put out $600 in welfare checks last year. That was it.
There's other services out there that.
How many,
can help.
How many rents did you pay though?
$600
$600.
overall welfare budget went out, was expense last year.
Oil and all that?
That's everything.
All right, find out how to believe. We'll call John Burby in here.
Who?
John Burby,
Oh, you
Mary,
can call,
Mary Court.
you can call whoever you want. That's all I need about.
There's a lot of services for the county.
You might be thinking of Tri-County CAP, who's a whole different organization that's run through the county.
Right.
They would do that,
Yep.
but
The
not
electric
me.
company has some services that they help. So there's county programs. That takes the pressure off the towns.
And I bet you that's what he's referring to.
Right.
And that I would believe.
I believe you, Charlie, and
They
then
help with electric.
I believe Mike Donahue here on the computer had one. So we'll go with you, Charlie, then Mike Donahue, and then Bill Waterhouse.
As a long time, over 15-year employee of Tri-County CAP, having worked with the head and almost every other nonprofit in the northern 3 counties of this state. And I've seen the labels, low income, affordable housing, workforce housing, often, it gets confusing when you have so many labels for something that really seems like the same And I know Rex is just trying to get us someone exactly what's going on here. And as I heard from you, these are really workforce housing units we're hoping to build. Is that correct? And their rents will not be subsidized. They will pay their rent according to household makeup and income. Correct? And those are all standards that are set in cast in stone, so to speak. Correct?
Correct, they're based on area median income.
Okay. Just thought that might help you. Might help me someday.
Thank you. Mike Donahue, I saw you were muted earlier.
Yes, can you hear me, Cheryl? Can you hear me, Cheryl?
Are you speaking?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me, Cheryl?
Right? There we go, Mike, go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to know, can they tell us what percentage of the tax rate that they're gonna pay on their tax bill on this project?
All right, so Mike Donahue here on Zoom has a question about what do you anticipate paying for a base tax rate on this property?
Percentage of it, is it 80%
Percentage.
that they're gonna pay, or is it 70, 60, 90?
What type of tax?
Property tax, sorry.
The question is, you know, we had talked before that you'd be taxed on whatever the place is worth or whatever. How does that compare to, like, if it was 100% market housing versus, 70, 25% market housing? How is that going to affect the taxes that they will pay?
Do you have a better, I don't have a good answer for that. I know that in Bethlehem, we just finished, and based on that valuation, we submitted to the State Department of Revenue. There's an RSA that sets a tax rate for an affordable housing project. And I'm not familiar enough with that calculation to be able to, or what our final valuation will be to be able to give you that number.
But of your evaluation, you only pay a certain percent, say 80%, 85. Do you know what that percentage is?
I do not.
You have the opportunity to pay 100%, just like the rest of the residents in town. Will you choose to go that route?
I don't think we will.
So when Donna said that it's costing the town of Woodstock nothing, who do you think is picking up the percentage that you're not paying? It's the other property owners in town that pick that up. It isn't magically going to come from anybody else. It's coming from the other residents in town. Say the tax rate is $10. We'll use that. We're close to $10. $10 a thousand. You're coming in at, let's say, only paying $7 a thousand. So the rest of the taxpayers are eating that $3 spread out amongst all of them. Correct?
If it goes that route.
This wasn't a trick question. I'm looking for an answer, I guess.
If it goes that way, then yes, that would be the.
Okay, so the comment that it's not costing the town of Woodstock or its residents anything isn't a true statement, because it is costing them.
Can I clarify?
Yes.
The CDBG isn't costing the town taxpayers.
No, but once this is
What I
built out,
said- I just wanted to clarify what I said was the CDBG grant wasn't costing the town taxpayers.
okay, but once it is built and once it goes forward, it is costing the residents of Woodstock something. We are subsidizing this. Every person that gets a tax bill will be subsidizing this project, correct?
I'm not sure that that's how I would look at it. I think you're adding an incredible amount to your tax base by constructing this.
Exactly. You're adding a lot to the tax base too.
Right.
Well, that's how you're looking at it because you're part of the project. The guy that's paying 100% of his tax bill, and maybe some older people or people that having a hard time struggling, I don't think they're going to look at it that way.
It's still by increasing the tax base of the town, it would not have an impact on your bill negatively.
Could be positive, actually.
Yeah.
Could be positive, it could actually lower bills.
Right.
No. I got another question for you. Scott mentioned that,
I don't know anything.
yeah, you do. You said that they're paying just a water and sewer hookup fee.
100% of what it would cost.
Yeah, okay. But weren't too long ago when we were talking about the upgrade of the pump station and so forth, you were going to put a charge on to any new developers that came along. And this is one of the projects. So they aren't going to put anything forward for future upgrades to the pumping station.
That was before we changed the tap or the connection fees. the
Yeah,
buying.
no,
So now it's a little bit different story. So their buying fees are gonna be in the 100, way over what we would have charged them as a buy-in, for us.
okay. So
It's gonna be way over like 120, 150,000. I'm just throwing numbers out there.
No, I understand. So you feel that your new fees will take care of that instead of having to impose a connection fee or an upgrade fee.
Yeah, that's what we thought, because the connection fees are so much higher than they used to be, as we all know.
We've also, Mike, we're waiting to hear, but we've also put in a grant for Northern Borders
There's a good chance we're gonna get,
to subsidize that
Sure.
pump station.
Cheryl spent a lot of time on a grant for that. There's a good chance we'll get half that paid for.
Yeah.
So,
So this meeting tonight is just to vote to authorize the town to go into an agreement with Donna on exploring this grant then.
Is that what-
The vote to decide whether, well, after the public hearing, they'll take a vote to decide whether or not to apply for CDBG funds. And if we apply for CDBG funds, it's competitive and it's just in a competitive round.
Yeah.
They have secured, no, they haven't. They are also after New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority funds, which is also very competitive. So there's a lot of things that have to line up. This is just one of them.
it's not a done deal by any means at this point.
I
Yeah.
mean, these projects, there aren't very many in the state that get funded a year, maybe 2, 3. What do you think? It's really hard to get these funds. And we're hoping that if this went through, that Woodstock would be fortunate enough to get some affordable housing. A lot of towns would like to have it. And we all know that it's a desperate need in this state. I mean, I have children that have to leave the state. We all have children that have to leave the state because there isn't places for them to live. So I think it's a great thing myself personally. Affordable housing anywhere in the state I'm for. But that's my personal opinion.
So you actually don't have to take a vote tonight because there was a lot of questions that were asked of these people that they didn't have answers for. So you could continue this meeting until they came back with those answers then, correct?
I think the application is due. That's why we're.
I think we
having a
plan on
public
voting tonight.
hearing. Yeah. So,
All right, thank you.
thank you, Mike.
Bill, yeah.
Thank you.
Woodstock Police Department.
The terms I've tried, affordable housing. I'm sorry, affordable housing and workforce housing. They're not interchangeable. One is based on the area median income. Is that correct? Workforce housing?
By New Hampshire statute.
Yes. And then affordable housing, the people can be spending no more than 30% of their income on housing.
I'm not sure what the question is.
Well, the banter has been using them interchangeably, and they seem to
Or
be
in conjunction.
Affordable housing, which has set amounts that can be charged, that HUD says This is affordable. Affordable housing is for the workforce. So I guess maybe that's the way I'm using it. It's for working people, but there are caps on the affordability of it.
So the percentages. Maybe I could ask though, and I asked, I was at another resort community. I happened to get on a shuttle bus with a lady and they have equity-based housing rather than renting and receiving a rent there. You purchase your housing. So if you come to a town to stay for 6 months, if you come to a town and work after college, thinking you can make it as a skier, and you leave, you take nothing with you because you paid it in rent. But this equity housing, you purchase it, and you get a subsidy on the interest rate. And then you have an opportunity when you decide to leave, you can sell it on the market for a percentage of the consumer price index. To me, that's an incentive. That's an investment in people in your community. Rather than come in, pay the rent, and then when you leave with exactly what you had when you came. You have nothing. And let's see. On June 4th of 2019, the part of a head was on NHPR's The Exchange, which was at 9 o'clock in the morning. And a caller called in saying, affordable housing subsidizes employees as they do not need to raise their wages. And the person from the head did not disagree with that statement. Is there the equity? Are there any developments for not affordable, but that are equity based so that the people are purchasing them in the state? Are you aware of any of those?
I'm not aware.
I'm not either. I know we've looked at trying to do some type of land trust before, and it's very difficult in this state. Vermont has done it very successfully, but it's difficult in New Hampshire.
Okay, I think over in Conway, they were trying. I spoke with
I just want, the point of the 30%, so affordable is 30% of the area median income for a household, whatever that calculation is. That's what that rent is. And the point of having an affordable rent is that you have money to put towards a savings or an education or healthcare, or so that you're not necessarily building equity in a home, but you're having that additional money because you're not paying 50, 60, you're not rent strapped by putting all of your money towards rent. And you're able to make a savings so that you can put a down payment on the house. And one of the services that we had provide to our residents is homeownership education, with the hope that they can transition out of it into a home in the region.
but that they're still locked in at the wage in the community. As opposed to if the rents were higher, there might be an incentive for the wages to come up. The burden is taken off of the employer this way. If there's a moral positive.
Okay, I just don't follow. I'll do that after.
Thank you.
Jerry Stringham.
I can think of one example, but it's pretty rare. Habitat for Humanity sells their houses to the people. And if they move out within 5 years, they pretty much, have zero equity in it. But after 20 plus years or whatnot, they own the house outright, and they've paid off, they paid the nonprofit for that. But that they only build one house a year in Plymouth at the Habitat for Humanity there.
And you have to build your house,
Yeah, the volunteers and people
But-
build it.
but you too have to put in a lot of
You put
time
some time
building.
into it. So, I mean, that's an example, when it's not used very, very much, and I think there's plenty of room for Habitat for Humanity and admirable groups like AHAD, I saw, coming down to Concord, they testified there, and, we had an opportunity to see how a lot of their facilities were performing. And the people who had the opportunity to live there were grateful for it, so.
We have several families that work for us that live in the one in Littleton. And they actually complain a little bit how strict it is. That their apartments is, inspected once a month. And now they're not complaining really, but they mentioned that, because I would ask them about what it was like. And as far as the way the yards are kept, as far as the way the apartments are maintained, they're pretty strict about the way they operate.
Can it be offered to local people first? Or if they just put it out there and whoever from wherever can come in? So if someone local hears about this, like, oh, we've already filled up, I'm sorry, you can't go local because we've already given it to out of towners.
Are there
Yes,
rules or
we have to-
regulations?
yes, we have to follow federal fair housing laws.
But I think the locals hear about it first,
Could be
by
leaked.
things like this.
Could be leaked, yes.
Could be
And they,
leaked.
and they see things happening and they inquire, but generally locals are the first to come.
They are.
Is there, before it's built, there will be an open enrollment period as you're building, or
Correct,
not
we're
until
building
they're
this,
built?
Right.
I would tend to disagree a little bit with Bill, as far as employers having all of a sudden just locking people into a rate. As an employer, if you have an employee that deserves more money and you want to maintain it and retain them, they'll get it.
Everybody's getting it.
I don't think it just all of a sudden puts a ceiling on or a cap on income for the folks that live there.
I don't disagree, but also the person that was on National Public Radio.
So you're talking
respond.
Yeah, I
2019
stopped
versus
listening to NPR a while
2022.
ago.
We're in two different worlds right now.
That the person was from ahead.
I'm just saying, as an employer, and you've got three sitting here, if somebody's worth more money, we're gonna get it, so you can retain them so that you can have a quality business.
Yes.
I
Rex,
think before you make your decision, I agree with Mike Denny, was that you were to find out what percentage of what they're gonna pay to the town. Whether you think this is a great thing or not, we're increasing our police force, we're increasing our fire department, we're increasing our public works, because he's gonna be over there, water and everything else, overseeing them, so.
And our schools.
As
School
a,
system,
about 3 years ago, I went to Littleton,
we heard that.
so
We also know people who live next to the one in Littleton. And we also know teachers who work in schools and this workforce housing. And you can say what you want, but we've heard horror stories, so. And I live across, I work across the street from where this is going.
That being said, the biggest percentage, if they're coming in here at 50%, you think that's all golden for the town people? They ought to have a percentage up front so everybody in town knows what it is. And maybe they wouldn't be so upset about what's going on right now, because everyone seems to think that you're just sliding this under the carpet and you're just gonna push this right through. And you can say what you want about the low income or the affordable housing that you went to see, but we were working right beside where you told us you went to see. We did the River District in Littleton, a whole different scenario than what you told us in 2019.
I was there. I mean, I walked on, I looked, it was.
For that
neat
day,
and
we were
clean.
there. We were there all summer.
So I don't think they tidied it up for me for one day, Rex. I'm just saying what I.
Well,
was
you
up
lost
there.
somebody, Joe, so.
What's that?
Just to ask our kids, they were there too. The stories.
It
that they
doesn't
would
even
come up.
matter that. If it's gonna go through, we just need to know what percentage they're paying their fair share for the taxpayers. And are they gonna increase the police force?
And we'll miss the application.
Can you honestly truly say, Kevin, that you don't think that you're gonna go to that housing over there?
Go ahead.
I'm not really allowed to speak unless, whatever. So as far as the police department is concerned, if these folks are true to their word and we have workforce housing, I hope that these are genuine people that are doing the right thing and are trying to get ahead. If we have lower income housing where people are depending on a system and it's a different scenario, then the police department may have to expand to deal with those issues, but wouldn't preemptively expand until those scenarios come up that we have to address, and that would make the case that we need more personnel. But at this moment, an additional 60, is it 20? I'm sorry.
29 to be exact.
We'll cut it in half. An additional 30 units may not put us, may not overload the police department.
But
And I
that's-
cannot just mention that I did talk with Chief Smith up in Littleton, and his comment was to me that of all the developments up there, and that's including the Section 8 and lower income stuff, the least amount of trouble they had was at the head project. And that's a quote from him. That's all I can say. He didn't give me details as to how much was going on, but that's all he said to me.
Charlie,
Would it be a good idea to maybe, not vote tonight and move forward? I'm not sure the word I'm looking for.
Table it, Kelly. They table everything else. Table.
Table, thank you, not chair. Maybe table until the next meeting. I think there's a lot of unanswered questions here. And I think once more people become aware, there may be more questions that probably should be fielded.
Did you say that this vote was time sensitive? Now, were we getting close to?
The applications are due at the end of July.
Thank you.
I'm not sure the tax question will be able to be answered until it's built, because it's based off assessed value, and then it's a formula used by Department of Revenue.
It's the state formula that is
So I'm not
done
sure
after
that
it's built in the
that
assessment.
question will be able to be answered. Am I correct? It's based off assessed value, then the formula from Department of Revenue. So that percentage will not be able to be given until it's built. So I don't know how that answer will come.
That can't be true. These guys ain't going in there blindsided and going
I
in
don't
there and
know.
saying that we're gonna put $3.5 million into this project
I just know the
and
formula.
don't
I don't
know
know
their
anything
tax
about
base.
that.
I'd be kind of foolish. That's a business person. You're not going in there and saying I'm building.
We have an
$3.5
estimated
million
tax
project.
based on an estimated appraised value,
You know what?
an estimated property tax based on our estimated appraised value at completion.
But back to Mike's question, are you paying 60%? You paying 100%?
Do you know what that is?
I think I've got $54,000 in there, I think, for property taxes.
What's your estimated assessed value?
Talking to the person that just retired there, he said normally it's about 80% of the market value.
They're
It's what he had
gonna
told me
be
at one
taxed the same
time.
way
I
that the
mean,
regular percentage is.
So they have their water, their sewer hookup and all that, then who pays for their monthly, their quarterly water and sewer bill?
they do,
They
just
do.
just like a resident.
And for their sewer and water tap fee, is it so much per person, like when you add a restaurant, say?
It's exactly according to the, per house it's different, but it's exactly according to the sheet that's on the website. They pay exactly what it would.
Per unit.
Per
Per
unit,
unit, per
per unit, per unit. It's a substantial amount.
And where's that money gonna go?
Sewer fund.
Lower my water bill.
Water and.
It will,
This is all
it'll
about-
go into the sewer fund.
Goes in
The sewer and water
goes
fund.
Sewer and water fund.
Yes.
And if I would like to do it when we're in the budget process, take or tap fees we have and try to put that towards the reserve, you know, into that reserve, you know, each year instead of, you know, if you get $100,000 in tap fees, instead of using it towards operating the department, put it towards the reserve to build a pump station for repairs and things like that. For
So it doesn't hit
capital
the
stuff.
taxpayers or your budget. Right?
That's what I think. That's another whole thing.
Mike Donahue, then Charlie.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
I really would like to see the selectmen ask these people to come, you know, postpone, not postpone, but don't vote tonight, have them come back with some answers. Now this guy is saying 80% he figures he's paying, you know.
He didn't say
shouldn't-
that.
Spot said that.
That was his predecessor that mentioned that at one meeting we were at. So,
Right. Okay, but we deserve to know what this number is, Scott. The taxpayers deserve this because somebody's got to supplement this. When we send all the children that are in this community to school, we're going to pay 100% to send them there. We're not only going to pay, let's say, 80%. So somebody's got to subsidize that, and that's going to be the other taxpayers in town. They have the opportunity. They can pay 100% of their tax bill just like every other folks in town. They have that opportunity. There's nothing that says they can't. So if they go to adjust their rents a little bit, that's what they do. You know, that's just the start of it. I understand the need for housing. I don't want to go down that path. I mean, I understand it. We all understand it. But that doesn't mean that every other resident should have to subsidize it. Unless they can come in and tell us some more details on. The question was asked, if a guy lives there, but yet he wants to travel to Concord to work because he's getting a better rate of pay, what's stopping that from happening? That's doing nothing for this community. You're doing nothing to make sure that they stay here and work. Who oversees that? I assume Head does. And like he said, this is a cash flow business. He needs to have cash flow. They're going to keep the units full, whatever they got to do. The same thing happened years ago down at Scenic View Trailer Park. I think that's what it's called. I was the only person that came to that meeting, and they talked about, oh, you can only make X amount of money. The town sponsored them in that getting that grant, and there was a threshold. You couldn't make over X amount of dollars a year. Well, that nobody oversaw it. There was people down there making well over what the threshold was, and I'm sure there still is today. It turned out to be a nice park. As far as, you know, it's a nice park, it's a clean park, they take good care of it, but that was intended for low income people. And you got people down there that aren't even full-time residents. That was one of the things, they had to be a full-time resident. I haven't been in that park for a while, but when I was in there a little bit, the president didn't even live there. And nobody's overseeing it, and the town was the one that sponsored them on that grant. And that's all I guess I got. Thank you.
Did I say Charlie after Mike? Go ahead.
Just one last question.
Yes, sir.
If you table this for 2 weeks, which is the next time you meet, would that seriously jeopardize the process up to this point? That's the question.
That would be Donna. What would you, if this was to be tabled tonight, would it not provide you enough time to meet the application deadline?
No, it would be fine. I couldn't be here. I have about 3 public hearings that night at other towns doing these kind of things, competing for these funds. Don't know, Larry.
What questions do we?
what questions are there? I think bottom line is there is some type of a break as far as tax goes, you know.
Yeah, any more information on
On that.
on the tax break?
Will you be able to?
I think
I don't know that I can provide the information until it's constructed. I mean, we had to wait till we gotten our tax bill from the town before we could submit that paperwork to our Department of Revenue.
approximately the value of this, the assessed value is approximately
10 million.
So that, I think what we're saying is based on a building that's not built, we're not gonna know the answer to that question. But we do know that there's a considerable amount of money being budgeted for taxes each year. You've heard that number is approximately 50,000 is expected to be paid in taxes each year. So I don't think we're gonna have a lot more information than that.
So tabling it for 2 weeks really isn't gonna make any changes there, I think. Wow. Because we're not gonna have any, then we have to make that decision that this, them paying a little bit less in taxes is okay when we make this decision here. And I think overall it could bring in more money in taxes as well, so.
Well, certainly more than what it's making right now.
Right.
Cheryl, may I ask a question?
Hold on, Mike, Bill had raised his hand prior, so. We're
Right,
gonna do
thank you.
Bill Waterhouse and then yourself.
Just
Thank you.
remember, it says 29 units for multifamily housing. So how many actual
Bedrooms.
not bedrooms, but how many families or how many units will be?
29 units.
29 units of multifamily housing.
In like 3 buildings. I mean, it's not all gonna be in one building.
With some one bedroom, some,
Some
So it's not
bedrooms, some 3 bedrooms.
29 buildings with 2 or 3 in each one.
No.
Correct. And is this the entire development, or will there be stages as we move forward? And if so, what will the final number be?
This is phase 1. Phase 2 will double it.
And will that be the end of it, or is there still,
No, that's it.
so it would be 58 units?
And those site plans have been submitted, we've shared here, they should be in the office somewhere.
They're right up there.
58 units.
yeah, they've been sitting, they've
They
been
were
on
already-
a tripod here for 2 years.
Don't, that's not chiseled in stone from what I understand. It after talking with Oliver Architects, it could be as many as 64 units.
But it's not.
But somewhere between 58 and 64.
I think it's 58 or 59.
Okay, well, then that's the
Are those it?
definitive.
I think they're up there. We just took them off the easel one. We did this.
And I've left my cards here, and I'm happy to go out to the truck and get more, and have conversation.
So we're 4 or 5 7.
We do that as well.
I think it's the same.
Turn that so I can see it, Mike.
So we have a few more sections listed to who wants to
You're
do it.
gonna close this one when you're done before
Okay.
you open the next one.
All right, so if there's no more public comments on this section, I'll accept a motion to close this portion of the public hearing.
I make the motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Mike was waiting.
Oh, my apologies. We're gonna
Yes.
hold that real quick.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Mike.
okay, yeah, earlier in the meeting, somebody asked the question about the threshold or where you need to be to qualify to be in here. And they said there's a chart. They didn't have that chart tonight. They haven't showed that to anybody. So that kind of gauges.
I'll get that right now.
Thank you.
She's showing it to us
She's
right
pulling
now.
it up right now.
Is there any other question?
Was there another question?
No, I think there was still some other questions that didn't get answered, and what we got for answers, we don't have that right now. This is just a knee-jerk reaction to it, and there's no reason this can't be postponed for another week or so, and I'm sure the public's going to have some more questions. Nobody's saying that, no, we definitely don't want this to go forward. They're just like some answers, and I don't know, it's just, I'm not hearing very good answers tonight. And to say that, $50,000 in taxes, I mean, that's 4 good sized houses that could, bring in that kind of income for you. So I don't see this as a huge generator, because look what it's going to cost us just in the schooling alone. So there's some questions that should be answered yet. And, and it's not the residents of Woodstock's problem that you waited till damn near July 1st to have this public hearing. They could have had it before now.
We have one.
We've had one
We've had
before.
several
We've
public
had like
hearings.
3 or
Because we had
4.
two, we had
All
two
right,
May-
but
and the late
you're
ones.
narrowing in here saying that it's time sensitive at this point. That's not our problem. This is, maybe people didn't have the opportunity to come out and ask their questions. And there's other people that still may have some questions after they see what happened tonight. I just think it would be responsible of the selectmen to wait another week. You don't have to wait 2 weeks. You could do it in a week.
And it was noticed in the newspaper.
It was noticed in the newspaper, you were correct.
Yeah, we ran it in the, White Wilton Courier, Manchester Union.
No, I saw it. I saw it posted. I ain't saying that, but there are, maybe other people had things come up.
I think
Other appointments.
all we're looking at now is just to close the public hearing, I think at this point, if no one has anything new, so.
I will have that for you in a moment.
Okay. Great, thanks, Sean.
We will get that together.
Okay, so we're gonna close the public hearing on this portion. Scott had made a motion,
I second it.
Gil seconded it, and we'll leave at 6:04. So at this time, we will open up the second portion of the public hearing on the Housing and Community Development Plan. Again, there's copies available up here for anybody that would like one. The Housing and Community Development Plan outlines goals for the next 3 years. CDBG requires a HCDP that is no older than 3 years. An HCDP is a Housing and Community Development Plan. Goal 1, work to diversify the economic base and encourage the creation of year-round enhanced job opportunities. Economic development should be consistent with the town's planning process, be a visual asset to the town, avoid traffic congestion, and avoid undue pollution. Goal 2, conserve critical natural resources in a manner that offers residents a varied landscape, prevents degradation of surface and groundwater supplies, and avoids erosion, flooding, and other detrimental aspects of unregulated land development. Goal 3, expand community facilities in an orderly manner that assures that all residents are provided with adequate services. Goal 4, encourage an adequate housing stock consisting primarily of single-family homes while allowing sufficient opportunities for duplexes, multifamily units, and other forms of housing to assure that persons of all income levels and ages will be able to afford to live in town. 3-year plan, year 2022. Assist the head in applying for CDBG funds to support the Peeling Village at Gordon Pond development for the purpose of providing affordable housing. Year 2023. Explore funding sources for new water and sewer upgrades. Year 2024. Establish capital improvement plans for the water and sewer departments. The plan includes the national state objectives and includes a CDBG citizen participation plan, including required public hearings to update the public on the process of CDBG projects. At this time, we'll open the floor up for public comment on that portion. Bill Waterhouse.
Is the, no older than 3 years, when was this?
It was very old, we kind of retweaked the old one
This year?
for this.
Yes, it was
This is
just
the
in
new
a
version of
workshop.
the old one.
This is,
We had, it was in a workshop a month or so ago.
and then there's no conflict between the first public hearing and goal 4 to encourage an adequate housing stock consisting of primarily single-family homes.
It says while allowing sufficient opportunities for duplexes, multifamily units, and other forms of housing.
And multifamily units and other things.
While allowing single-family homes And then, while allowing sufficient opportunities. But if it's primarily single-family homes, are you anticipating 59 single-family homes this year? Or in this project, 58 in its total?
I think
It's
it's
a
talking
sign.
about housing stock. I don't think it's talking about new housing. I think it's talking about all housing they already have. My interpretation is correct. It's talking
To one
about,
development.
It's not
It's
specific
specific
just
to
to
the
this,
town.
it's the town. So the town overall. is what we're looking at.
Yes, the town overall encouraging single-family homes.
don't you have more single family homes than
We do.
multi-family? homes? So that is what it is happening.
It's gonna go Mike Donahue, because he spoke up first, and then Rex. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, Cheryl, could you read goal number 1 again for me, please?
Yep, in the 3-year plan, year 2022, assist ahead in applying for CDBG funds to support the Peeling Village at Gordon Pond Development for the purpose of providing affordable housing.
I think you meant the other goal.
Oh, the other goal, sorry. that
Yes.
was My bad.
That's
Work
fine.
to work to diversify the economic base and encourage the creation of year-round enhanced job opportunities. Economic development should be consistent with the town's planning process, be a visual asset to the town, avoid traffic congestion, and avoid undue pollution.
Maybe somebody could explain the part about creating year-round workforce opportunities to me. I guess I don't quite understand that section by doing this, or by, this plan.
Encourage the creation of year-round enhanced job opportunities.
I
Yeah,
think it's just a goal, I mean, so to encourage.
Right,
And
encourage
businesses
innovation,
and things like
encourage
that.
businesses to come to Woodstock, to come to the state. It's all part of the state's mission to encourage businesses you need businesses to make your community survive. You
And
can't
encourage-
just survive.
no, I just wanted
To
to,
encourage people to do things in the off season, in April and May, and November, and
Right.
December and stuff.
okay, no, I just wanted a little clarification on that.
And then it was, yes, Rex and Sherry.
So it's not affordable housing, but on your 4th goal, it says all levels of income and ages.
Is that just the town, or is this what they're building? Is that geared toward what they're building, or is this what you're hoping for the town?
This is
That's the town, the whole town as a whole. Like your project, all the projects.
Right.
I can't hear
So you got one down by you, we're moving down
you.
there.
Yeah, it's a nice neighborhood. My neighbor just posted his house for $600,000, and I think it's 3 times what they paid for it.
That's a two-edged sword.
His hand up.
I
No,
know.
that's me.
Oh,
More.
sorry.
That's okay.
All right,
Okay.
a motion to close the second public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So close that at 6:11. Last up, we are now opening the public hearing on residential anti-displacement and relocation assistance plan at 6:11 PM.
Should I read this?
What is
Yeah,
that?
explain it and then I'll read this
That
part
sounds
to you.
great, Donna.
So every time you apply for CDBG funds, you have to apply for a project-specific anti-displacement and relocation assistance plan. I'm sure they did it when they did your loan as well, whenever, every single time, even if we're doing a study, we always have to adopt this for this project. And basically, it doesn't apply to our project because we're talking about empty land. We are not displacing or relocating anybody. But some projects do. Some projects have people living in them, and we want to take a building, like in Conway, we're talking about taking a building that's a wreck, and we are going to fix it up, and there are 2 tenants in it right now. So we need to take care of those 2 tenants. That's what an anti-displacement is. We can't just go bulldozing around things and not taking care of people who are in them. So we always have to adopt this plan, whether it applies to the project or not, we have to. So because it's the Uniform Relocation Act and it's a HUD, these are HUD funds and they're subject to them. So this plan outlines measures under the Uniform Relocation Act required for CDBG projects that involve any displacement or relocation of persons or businesses. If the town were to undertake a CDBG project which involved displacement or relocation, they would follow the plan. The plan outlines measures they would take to find comparable suitable housing for persons or businesses displaced or relocated. Again, this project does not anticipate any displacement or relocation. That means we can't use CDBG funds to push people out of places to make us be able to do projects. We have to take care of people. We have to protect people. And that's why we have to adopt this every single time. So I know it sounds a little bizarre for a project that doesn't involve any displacement. In fact, I would say probably 95% of CDBG projects do not involve any displacement or relocation, but we bump into the occasional one where there's somebody there and we need to take care of them. So it's confusing, but there's a reason for it.
Thank you. So at this time, we'll open the floor for public comment on this section. Okay.
I
Being
make a
none.
motion to close this public hearing.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Closing the public hearing at 6:14 PM.
So can we go back to the income guidelines?
Let me open, and do I need to open the selectmen's meeting now that that was closed? And then she can make comment on the,
You can, I think you can, doesn't matter, no, it's up to you.
I'm gonna open the, just to be kosher, I'm gonna
Yeah.
open the public, open the selectmen's meeting. And Donna, if you'd like to,
So
address,
we're gonna talk about, so CDBG allows up to 80% of median income, so I was giving higher numbers, but New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority, which is the primary funder, has a lower threshold. So Larry, can you tell us the max you can make for a household of 4?
So it's based on area median income for Grafton County, which is $87,400. A 4-person household making 60% of area median income, the income limit for that family is $52,800. And the rent would be 30%, based on 30%.
It would be what, 30%?
30% of that, which would be 15,000. So about 1,100 a month, 1,100 to 1,200 a month. Which still isn't super cheap. So,
did you hear that, Mike? Because that goes back to your question about the thresholds.
Yeah, I heard it. Yes, I heard what she said, what he said.
Thank you. Okay. So first up, we have the CDBG application. So I'll open it up for discussion with the board as to if we continue to move forward to vote to approve the submittal of the CDBG application and to vote to authorize the chair, myself, Cheryl Reardon, to sign and submit the CDBG application, and upon approval of the CDBG application, authorize the chair, myself, Cheryl Reardon, to execute any documents which may be necessary to effectuate the CDBG contract and any amendments thereto. So,
I don't know,
discussion.
I can appreciate a lot of people's strong feelings about this for sure. I think we need the housing. We have talked about this at meetings over the last three years, off and on. And, I don't think we're going to change a lot of people's minds one way or the other at this point. People hate it or they love it, or somewhere in between, I think. So I think we were eyes wide open. There was going to be some tax benefit to the people living in this thing from day one, 3 years ago when they first came in here, as we've gone down this road. So I think it's a project we need, and I hope everyone's fears are not borne out if it really happens, and we don't know if it's gonna happen or not, so.
This is an application for assistance and
Right,
funding.
but we don't know what's gonna happen, so my vote is that I make a motion that we accept it.
Do you have any comments?
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have any more answers in 2 weeks than we already have.
I agree.
Larry has said that until it is actually built, we know what the assessed value is. They're not gonna have an answer for us as to how much taxes we're gonna get. So I think we need to move forward. I think, and this is, again, is just an application for a grant. It's not a done deal. And it needs to be
Still a long process
moved forward, yeah.
between building permits and everything else.
So we've had other public hearings as well, correct?
Oh, yeah.
On this
And there will be,
Way more than
public
one.
comment session.
yeah,
Okay. Typically, we do not do public comments to the end, but because we're making a vote on something that is important, Rex, I will give you an opportunity to speak.
So 58 units. $1,100 a month.
29.
29 units.
For now.
29 units for now. And the
For now.
assessed value that they're talking about is
The
on
build
just
up.
those 29 units.
Build up 58 is what you said, so that's the goal, you know.
In phase two.
Sure.
Sure. For nothing. 1 year of income rent for them is $765,600. And they can't pay 100% to the town. That's 1 year. You don't return all your money in a year after you do a project. It's you several years to recover your money, doesn't it, Scott?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
More than one.
$765,600 is what they're gonna do at $1,100 a month at 58 units.
I don't think they're all 1,100, right? So I mean, I know.
That's right.
I know.
Most of them are more. They just said that.
No,
was the lowest.
it's- the one bedrooms are less.
Right.
So
That's the max.
That's the max, is that 1100?
that's the max is 1,100. So.
I just think it sucks because we work so hard for our house, as do many other people.
Me too.
Judy, are your kids gonna live in that place? Probably not, correct?
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's in there.
correct. I mean,
Well, they're not
we
taking-
all worked so hard, and yet you're gonna hand this over to people. I don't know, it just, I've lived here all my life as my parents, my grandparents, my grandparents. We all went through hell, but we stuck it out and we worked hard. And we stayed here. Now all of a sudden, because, and this is not something new, that we don't have housing. It's been forever. And the Deer Park was here, and the Alpine was here, big, big hotels, they house their employees. We have to pay. I was just wrong. Sorry, it's wrong.
Thank you. Okay. We have a motion on the floor.
oh, sorry.
Second.
I had a question, Cheryl.
Go ahead, Mike, sorry.
Yes, I wasn't looking for an exact dollar amount. I just wanted the percentage of what they're going to pay of their tax bill. I went to, I've been attending these meetings, as you know, for 3 years, and I've always asked the same question. The guy before this Larry guy, he could tell us an answer. I didn't have time to pull my paperwork out to see what he told me, but he had an answer for us, what the percentage of the tax rate they were going to pay. That's all my question is. And I don't understand why you can't pay 100%. He told us that you could. He said there are projects, and I want to say, I thought he told us that there was one project that they did pay 100% to the town on their tax rate.
That, I believe, was Lincoln Green, and that was already established. Mike,
Before we got in there.
before the head went in. And once the head went in, they are paying 100%, to my knowledge.
I mean, this was a question we've had since day one, or I've had from day one, Gil. You were at those meetings. I've always had to ask this question, and why can't I get an answer? They're avoiding it. Why? I think the taxpayers, the residents of Woodstock, deserve these people to come in and pay 100% of their share. The rest of the people had to work or are working to support themselves and the town. And these people should, we're welcoming this project to the community. It's allowing, because I don't see where we have an opportunity really to oppose it. You say you've had these public hearings, but it sounds, and I've attended them, and our comments have gone to the wayside. You have not listened to them. You can sit there and tell me you have, but I haven't seen where you've addressed our concerns for 3 years. You say, why can't he answer my question? Why can't they pay 100% of the rate? That would be a start.
For the record, Mike, I don't disagree with you.
I don't hear him answering the question. I'm asking him. This is directed to you, Larry. I'd like an answer from you. I asked the guy that used to come before you. Now I'm asking you.
My project is not going to get built if I'm paying 100% of this tax rate. I mean, you can show me $700,000 in revenue, but there's,
So so it's back to you're looking for the resident taxpayers of Woodstock to subsidize your project so that the people that work for AHEAD as a nonprofit organization can have well-paying jobs, I guess. Am I wrong?
I think I'm looking at it the opposite as you, in that we're adding to the tax base of the town and not taking away from it.
No, I don't see it that way. You're adding to it, but you're not adding to it. You're not paying 100% of your share. Somebody's picking up that other percent. And that's the existing residents. Some of them families have been here for 100 years, longer.
Is the valuation based off a different standard than what a typical single family home is based off of? Because
The assessors will value it.
right, the assessors will, but do they have like a different criteria for projects that are workforce housing versus single family homes?
Not that I'm aware of.
I don't know.
The
Maybe the state would look at
The way
that.
the way I understood it was say, using $1 million, say, in value. If we're getting market rate for rent, it might be worth 1.2. Where they're not getting a market rate for rent, the income would make it worth $1 million.
Yes.
And that's where that
Right.
Okay.
comes
That's
up.
what I thought.
Cindy may
So-
follow something, I don't know.
I believe, and I don't know that's for sure, but that's the way I understood.
Yeah,
Well, would this be a good reason to not make a vote tonight till you can get us answers? I've had this question for 3 years, Scott. You've heard me ask it. And there's still this huge gray area around it. And it's obvious other people in the room have the same question.
But we're not gonna know the exact amount until it's done.
I don't believe that. I understand the value, but how much of the tax rate is he going to be obligated to pay? What percentage?
100% of the tax rate on what it's valued at. The value is I think where the difference comes in.
That
It's not
isn't how it was explained to us in the past, Scott. It was a percentage. They were only going to pay 80% of the tax, 75, maybe it was 85. I don't know the exact numbers because that guy kept bouncing around. He didn't know. But he also told us he had the opportunity. They have the opportunity. Now, whether they got the ability or not, I don't know. They could pay 100% just like everybody else. That would go a long ways with a lot of people, the way they looked at this project. You can call it whatever you want, workforce housing, low income, whatever. But when they're not paying their fair share, people don't look at it the same.
I think it will be similar to what the way Ray Garden Center is. But I'm not
How was,
sure.
why was Ray Garden Center?
We're a little different, but the way they're set up inside, but they paid off their financials. Are you done the same way? Is that formula the same for you?
No, it's all the assessed value.
Right.
So they pay off their rental income. I believe. I actually don't even want to say that because Cindy.
Right, again, I'm
takes
not
care of-
sure.
Cindy
And
takes
the
care of it.
But the Ray Burton House has a different criteria to qualify to be a resident there, doesn't it?
I don't know what their standards are.
Yeah, you're not capable, yeah, it's a different standard to be there. I just think that there are still some answers that you could postpone this meeting for a week or so and come back and just give us the answers. That's all we're asking for.
This is not the final stage for them to move forward, though. Today's public hearing in this discussion is for them to apply for a grant. This doesn't
Right.
say seal of approval, go.
This is not an approval.
No, I understand that. If you vote tonight, yes, that's giving Donna this is gonna give Donna now she can go forward with the application, correct?
Correct.
And this is not giving them approval for anything, final approval for anything.
Right.
But
They can
what
apply
is
for the
it?
grant,
It's
the
North
grant.
Woodstock. It's North Woodstock, Scott. What is the approval? The selectmen are gonna sign the building permit. That's all there is. Unless I'm missing something here. Where does the community have a chance to weigh in on it?
They're gonna pay somewhere between 75% and 80% of taxes somewhere, because you've heard this number, you've spouted this number a few times, so we know it's somewhere between that. The answer is, if they have to pay 100% on the taxes, then they will not build, they cannot afford to build affordable housing. And then it will just be market housing. Is that pretty much summarizes it? That's why
Except we
they,
can't build market housing.
not
This
you,
is just
you're
us.
somebody else. But basically, affordable housing needs a little bit of a reduction on the taxes so it can be affordable. Whether it's, 79% or 83%, it's a little bit less than 100%. I think that's all I can summarize and say. It's not 100%. We all know it's not 100%.
And we knew that from day one.
Right, it's to be affordable, they need a break on the tax rate. That's just how it is, whether you move forward or not. That's how it is, to be affordable.
Thank you.
Rex,
Even if they pay 80%, they're still not looking at what they're putting into the school system. They were paying 100%. Because everyone is a full family unit
up to,
up to.
right? So it could be, you have single family units. Do you know your breakout of units?
6 1-bedroom, 17 2-bedroom, 7 3-bedroom.
Okay.
So some won't even have children.
Many of them are.
Many of them won't.
I've not heard it recently, but at one time, I think we had heard that the school system could handle somewhere between 40 and 50 students. Is that correct, Jerry? Do you recall that from your budget meetings?
There's plenty of room there right
Okay.
now, even with the number of teachers they have.
Okay, so we have a budget at the school system right now that would handle, give or take, 40 to 50 kids, if
Well, and that
those,
depends on, are they,
Taking into account special needs kids
Exactly.
sometimes.
sometimes, yeah,
can-
but you have that now, you have them that come in and come out, and they can move into the school system anyway, so, okay. All right. Do you have a motion on the floor? We have a second. Will you take a vote?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Okay. Motion pass for the CDBG.
We have, sorry.
We have to do them for
three.
each one, right?
And can I ask you to strike your name from that motion?
Strike my name from that,
Just say the
She did
chairman,
motion.
I
just
didn't
the
motion.
chair,
just the chair.
yes. Because if this goes through, it sometimes takes years and you may not be
Motion.
chair
Chair,
and we'd have
okay.
to do it again.
All
So
right.
if you just say the chair, that would be good.
Some of the
Okay.
people at this meeting tonight we won't be here.
Okay, my block's on, this one,
Is it black?
yeah, this one's black.
You know, a lot of places.
Okay. Right here.
Nice dam across on the bay.
Yeah, you're familiar with it.
So just to make it clear and clean, we'll amend that motion to strike Cheryl Reardon as the chair from the motion and address it as just the chair. Do I have a- I made that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
So next, we have to adopt the Housing and Community Development Plan.
I make a motion to adopt the
Okay, so
Okay, go ahead.
all right, so we need a motion to adopt the Housing and Community Development Plan.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Cheryl to sign,
And
and for the chair to sign.
for the chair to sign. So Scott motion, Gail seconded, all those in favor? Aye. Okay,
Just that one.
just that one. All right, next we have a motion to adopt the Anti-Displacement and Relocation Assistance Plan.
I'll make a motion to accept it as presented.
I'll second that.
All those, and for Cheryl to sign, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair.
Chair to sign, sorry. Oh, it is. So next up, we have to approve and sign the minutes from the January 14th meeting. June. The June 14th meeting.
I'll make a motion to accept them as presented.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
He just stepped out. I suspect he'll be back, so we'll just jump over him for a minute. Next. You all set?
Yeah, we'll pass these for your signature.
Okay. Next up, we have the request, or to revisit the request from the Lincoln-Woodstock Childcare Center for their rental forgiveness. There's a discussion on that.
Yeah,
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Donna.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Recently, we've asked for information from the folks that run that as to how it's run and why they keep coming back for more free rent. They had crickets. I mean, we just absolutely nothing. Having spoken with our constituents, I don't find it, I have found that most people don't feel that we should be funding a private business, be it a nonprofit or not, with taxpayer money, which is basically what we do when we forgive the rent for that. So I'd like to make a motion to reinstate the payment for Woodstock's share of rent from the Lincoln-Woodstock Childcare.
So, okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And we can reconsider if they come back with more information.
Sure.
I agree. I would think that would make sense.
This is, I would like it to be reinstated and effective 7/1.
Okay. You have that, Judy? Mr. Wishart.
Am I up?
Yep.
You're up.
Well, all these 6 and 7 numbers, and I'm here for $250 issue. I feel like a beggar. Sometime in January, near the end of snow season, when the town was, widening roads, clearing banks, etc. in the neighborhood, my property was destroyed by the town loader. I don't know who was driving it. I don't care. was a town employee and a town owner on town time. So I went to the DPW head, said, look, here's what happened. I want you, it's trash. I want you to take it to the dump and I'll come to the board for reimbursement. I was told by the same person that the town, because the town can't say anything, only the board or an individual can say something. So the town said, no, don't touch it, don't move it, not our problem. I submit it is your problem, want to be reimbursed for the three-wheel bicycle I had for, and I'm not even charging for my perennials, but the three-wheel bicycle, 3 metal fence posts, the type you use with 6x6 wire, and 2 fiberglass poles that I stick in the ground so people know it's there. So, total amount of money I'm looking for is about $240, and have the town remove it. That's it.
Any comments? I believe we have heard from our attorney that there is an agreement of sorts from a court case, that there's an understanding of that fence. No,
We're not talking about my fence on Bell Street, on Mitchell Street. We're talking about the property at the end of my bushes,
okay.
next to my driveway, is where this was, where it's been for at least a few years. It's my kind of, way to make the end of my driveway look good. Plant flowers, I plant perennials, and sat there forever. No one in the 9 years I've been there, no town vehicle has ever come onto my property at that point to remove my snowbank. Now, I don't think it was deliberate. It was an accident. No, not wanting to start shit here, but first thing, whoever did it knew they did it. It was obvious. The least that somebody could have done is man my doorbell. Hey, Charlie. It's an accident. Accidents happen. I understand it. I'm not talking about that fence or that agreement with the town. I'll address that at a later date. Today I'm here for a singular issue, and that's it. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
The single issue being but you mentioned the bike and
The three-wheel bicycle,
you mentioned the fence.
I mentioned fence posts, just the steel posts that I have there, and the fiberglass, driveway markers that I have there. Eventually, they were buried under my pile where I pull my snow every storm. Just the same. There's no one in the neighborhood that doesn't know what's there because it's been there for some time.
Have either of you driven by to see where the bike is?
No.
You have not.
Oh, I have plenty of pictures. The bike is not where it was. I
Okay.
moved it out into the town right away. I'm not going to pick it up. I'm not going to take it to the dump because I didn't cause the damage. Well, I'm asking the town, whoever, garbage. Anyone looking at, I got pictures now, but I don't want to take your time. I got pictures before, right after it happened, and the pictures where it is and how it exists right now.
Do you have pictures of where it was originally?
Sure do.
Okay, can you,
Years of pictures,
okay,
because it's been there, brother.
all right. Can you share those and email those to the admin here for us to review? Because all we've seen is where it is now, which right now it's in the town right away. So, but if you can email those to Judy and then we'll revisit.
I can do that, let me tell you.
Okay,
I tried to deal with this in a chain of command
okay,
with the guy who's responsible for him and his police stuff. He knows exactly what was there before and what exists now. I've spent way too much time trying to communicate with this guy who just disrespects me and questions. Well, we don't even know who did it. I know who did it. You doubt the veracity of what I have to say here today. That not one of you people here know me. $240 is what I want. If I have to jump through more hoops, I will do it. But it's an unreasonable request.
okay. Well, if you could share those to us, we've been advised by the town attorney that we need documentation to see and to know that this was not where it is currently, because currently it is in the right of way. So we need to be able to verify and prove that to move anywhere forward with that, okay? So if you can email those photos,
I'll deliver them personally.
you'll deliver them personally? Okay.
I don't do email, I don't do internet.
That's fine.
I don't
Whatever
have
way
a
you can get them
laptop.
to- That's, yep, and then we'll take it back up in the next meeting, okay? Thank you, Charlie. Thank you
Any
for your time.
questions?
No,
No, if we have any additional ones, we'll have Judy email them or we'll call you.
we'll call
One
it.
of us will call you and send you a letter or something.
Fine, so that's the end of my singular issue tonight.
Okay.
I'm sure I'll see you folks again in the future.
Okay, thanks,
Thank
Charlie.
you.
Thanks for
you,
coming out today. All right. Next up, we have the, to approve check request for the Woodstock Fire Fund. So, last meeting, we had visited the, their holiday party, receipt, and that has been revised to the $632.50. So do I have a motion to, approve the check request?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I abstain.
Okay, I'll second that one. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those that abstain?
Abstain.
Okay. Next up, we have a check request from the Woodstock Firefighter Fund for the Easter egg hunt. That check request is reimbursement for the Easter egg hunt supplies in the amount of $640.07.
That's a lot of Easter eggs.
I know.
Right?
I
I
make the
think there's
motion.
quite a bit there, though.
I make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next up, we have to accept donations for the Woodstock Firefighter Fund. This would be T-shirt sales from in the amount of $140 in 2 separate checks. Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make it.
All right, I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. And we have public participation on items on this evening's agenda, and due to our need to end the meeting quickly last meeting, those items are open for discussion as well. Bill.
I'll just make a statement. And I'm not asking for conversation on it. But at the April 19th meeting, I was told that the town would look into rights of way dimensions and get back to me on those. And I'm only bringing that up in the hopes that that information might be available at the next meeting.
Yes, we will circle back on that. Apologies for the delay.
Well, there were reasons at the meetings. There was absence and then the
Yes.
other incident.
Any other items? All right, do either of you have any old business that you'd like to address? No, all right, being none, I would accept a motion to adjourn. Oh, sorry, Bill. And, Bob? Yes, sir.
On these metal storage containers, the overseas ones, we should be getting permits for this.
Okay.
And
You think so?
should
It's
be-
not a structure or?
We used to, we
Yeah,
always
we used
have,
to, okay.
we always did.
Yeah, I think someone asked me lately and they said, oh, I don't think so, and, but we should get a permit
Mhm. 'Cause they're
and let them
different
be taxed.
If they're there, the rule was.
If
they're
it's
there.
not if it's not just temporary,
Right,
moving somewhere,
right.
if it's gonna be there full-time, just like a shed that we
Yep.
pay for.
Yep.
All right,
The
And
person-
if you're aware of some, I would certainly
in the
connect with
future, I mean,
Judy.
the ones that are there now, I guess we.
Well, no, if we had it outlined as a fee structure, it should, they
We
should
don't have
be,
a fee structure yet, but
Oh, okay.
we did consider them like a shed if they were gonna be there permit. They had to,
in the
like
past.
Alpine has one, they had to do a building permit.
Yeah,
There's a
right.
Okay,
couple
so there's
others.
evidence of them, so we should be addressing even those that
Yep.
have recently been placed.
All right. So in the future, we do, they need a permit.
Yep.
And they'll red flag it and they'll be assessed.
And they have to go through all the setbacks. And,
Yeah, like anything
All that
other structure,
as well.
any other structure.
you know, we did, I think the initial one was at the Alpine.
Um,
Bob and I had that discussion for a meeting,
Okay.
and it was an argument over $25.
Right, because our building fees are not.
And it's still there, by the way, and it was one of those big,
Overseas metal container.
well, I don't know, but yeah, they use them for, containers and.
On the ship, say.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you for bringing that
And that was
forward.
4 years ago.
yeah,
Thanks, Bob. I read it differently, so I'm glad you brought it up.
yeah, no, that's all right, no. Because they wanna do that at KOA, some containers there, and I said, let me find out.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
But now it's like
Thank you.
$50.
No, it's $50. That's it.
Plus taxes.
That's
Okay.
It's not gonna break the bank
No.
for anybody, so.
No.
But precedent is precedent.
Okay,
All right.
so,
So,
so.
you ready? All right, so we have a motion on the table to adjourn at,
Motion, I can get it.
I
I'll
make the motion.
Okay, at 6:50 PM, do I have a second? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody, for coming out this evening and sharing your comments.
Challenging meeting, difficult.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
You and yourself, Jerry.